Hello, welcome back to the Homeschool Feast. Today's episode feels especially timely as we start the summer. I know many homeschool families are craving something deeper, a slower, richer, more intentional way of living. In a world that constantly tells us to move faster, consume more, stay online, and keep up with the noise, it can feel almost rebellious to slow down, to read deeply, linger over meals, sit outside with our children, notice beauty, and cultivate a home filled with peace, wonder, and connection. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I was so excited to sit down with today's guest. Andrea Burke is a podcaster, Bible teacher, women's ministry leader, and homeschool mom living on a small farm near Rochester, New York, with her husband, children, dogs, ducks, chickens, and a few stray cats. She is also the author of A Bit of Earth and her beautiful new book, The Quiet Resistance, an invitation to slow down and find a richer life. In this conversation, we talk about why stories matter, how history and reading shape the soul, the importance of beauty and wonder in childhood, and how the ordinary rhythms of home life can quietly form our children in profound ways. If you've ever felt the tension between the frantic modern pace and the kind of life you actually want for your family, I think this episode is going to deeply encourage you. So grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, and enjoy my conversation with Andrea Burke. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Homeschool Feast podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ross, and I'm here today with Andrea Burke. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, so happy to be here.
Yes. And so we are here to talk today about your new book. I love the name of it. We'll dive into it in a second. But before we jump in, can you just give everyone a little bit of background information about who you are and then what led you to write this?
Oh, sure. Andrea Burke. I live in Western New York. I'm a mom, a homeschooling mom. I'm actually about to graduate my first senior out of homeschool this year.
Congratulations. No, it feels so weird.
Thank you. It's surreal. It's definitely a sense of, oh, did I do it? I actually did it. They're going to let me do this.
And they're still alive. I'm still alive.
That's the real thing. I'm still alive and we still get along. But yeah, so we have a little farm, a mini farm outside of Rochester, and I'm on staff at my church part-time as a director of women's ministry, and I oversee some of our discipleship groups. And yeah, I've been writing books. This is my second book, The Quiet Resistance, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. My first book was A Bit of Earth, A Year in the Garden with God. And I love gardening, and I got to write about it. And it was really fun to talk about different seasons of the garden and how that reflects in our life and our faith and with the Lord and our families. And that was the first book. And then this book, The Quiet Resistance, really is about, I feel like looking around at culture right now, I don't think anyone would say that things are looking awesome in general. And no, culturally, just even the trajectory of society is just, that's not my target. That's not my aim, looking around at society in general. And I just have this feeling of, I don't want to do that. I don't think that the common path of society is where the Lord has called believers to live, in the sense of we shouldn't look like the world. And so when I wrote The Quiet Resistance, it was really this invitation to, hey, let's live a little differently as Christians, or anyone who even wants to, maybe they don't have a faith, but they want to live in a way that is different and they see something compelling about a different way of living. It's an invitation for that. Let's try to walk this way, live this way, slow down intentionally through pretty basic, normal things. There's nothing in this book that is shocking or groundbreaking where you're going to think, oh my gosh, no one's ever said that before. But it's this repeated theme of, hey, this is how we could slow down, and we have for thousands of years, through these things, through relationship, music, looking at the stars, going to church, going for a walk, going to see the world, knowing your neighbors, very simple things, but reminding everyone, like, you can look at the world right now and say, I'm out. Like, I don't want to live that way. Here's another way to live. And so that was where this book started.
Yeah, it's kind of like a recipe. Okay, if you want to go off and not feel like you're just consumed with everything that's going on, here's some very simple practices. And I like that because it doesn't seem like it's like this, I have to revamp my entire life and go live on a farm and have chickens, not the same time. But these are like, okay, these are very simple steps and things that I feel like are doable for everyone.
I hope so. I hope someone will read it and that you can go, that thing, I can't do that. That's not for me. But this thing I could start doing today, with maybe even I think there's one chapter where I invite people to cook a meal and have a meal with your family and be intentional about that mealtime, or get to know some of the older people in your community or your church, or go for a walk down your street, know your neighbors. Like those are things that you might not be able to do everything in this book, and that's okay. This is more just an invitation to say, hey, these are some ways that we can just change the way our daily rhythms go to
Mm.
re-engage with the world right around us and the people right in front of our faces that we do interact with every day.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
thought the title was very interesting. It's like an oxymoron because when you think of resistance, you don't usually think of quiet. Usually
Yeah.
resistance is very loud. So I know that was intentional. So explain that dichotomy there.
Sure. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. Usually resistance is a loud rebellion, but I think that we can live in such a way that draws attention to what's good without making a ton of racket and just living quiet, faithful lives. And that's what I thought of with when we worked on this title. We went through a few iterations of it, and this one felt like, yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. That sense of I'm going to live quietly, but I'm pretty obstinate too. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to invite you through just maybe just watching the way I live and saying that is a little different and I like that. I want to learn more about that, or I want to do something like that. I'm not going to force this in your face. I'm not going to scream it in your face.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite you to come do this with me.
Yeah, I love that because it feels very gentle. It feels like an invitation rather than a command or in people's faces kind of thing. And I think that's what the world needs. And that invitation is what draws people to this life that's very holy. I got that from the sense of your book. And I did not know you were a homeschool mom till you hopped on here, but I definitely could tell reading it that you were because I was like, oh yeah, that's how we approach things. Oh yes, that's Charlotte Mason. Okay, yeah, okay, I got it. I got it. That was like it aligned so perfectly with my philosophy of education and then what I include in a general feast, the homeschool curriculum I published. So one of the first chapters was about
Yeah.
history. And you talk about how we live in like a present tense culture. So what
Yes.
do we and our children lose when we disconnect from the stories that shaped us?
Oh my gosh, I so much. I just talked to women last weekend about the bloodline of our faith. And I think it also links to just even the bloodline of history. When we disconnect ourselves from history, we lose a sense of culture, like what's actually happening, how did we get here? What is really happening in politics, in marketing, in relationships, in everything from war to education. We lose like how did we get here sense. And you're left with this idea that it's on me and our generation to solve all the problems, figure it all out, and we don't need anyone's help. We can it's almost this arrogance of present tense view that you think I can do this on my own. I don't need anyone else. But when we connect to history, we actually see that a lot of themes in culture are repeated over and over again. A lot of arguments are repeated over and over again. I think I talk in that chapter about ideologies that are regurgitated with new words or modern phrases. And if history, you can look around and go, oh, I see what that is. I know what that is. I can see this is not anything new. As Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. And so when you connect to that, it helps you have a good head on your shoulders about how do I interact with this world now, knowing what I'm interacting with. And I don't have to rely on my own intellect or my own arrogance. I can actually tap into this bloodline of history to say, how did people respond in the past? How did we have these arguments in the past? How did we engage with this in the past? And did it work? Did it fail? Was it something that needs to be done again or not? And then in a good way, we also get that sense of you're not alone. Like you are a part of a whole history of people who have struggled and loved and dreamed. And there's something about that's so beautiful to me because when I look back at even my own family lineage and see people who prayed for me today, who I never got to meet, or maybe they lived in such a way that they passed down a heritage to me that I get to do today, like a skill or something I do in the kitchen that I've learned from them, they learned from. That's a beautiful thing that connects me to this tapestry of history. And it makes it less about me, like less pressure on me to just do it all, get it all right, and figure it all out. It's like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in present day, but I'm also not alone in history.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I think we have a similar philosophy of the way that history is often taught is a bunch of information and fact states, and
Yeah.
you can't connect to that. So it really ties into your chapter about the power of story because it's the stories of the past that connect us to the past and teach us and shape us, not just information about the past. I actually just came from a global summit in Dallas, and we met at the George W. Bush Presidential Library there. And then we went to the Medal of Honor Museum, which just opened there
Oh, wow.
by the Cowboy Stadium. It, yeah, like see, I literally got goosebumps. Like just walking through both of those museums and the power of story and what people have gone through and how their families and the challenges that they faced and how they overcame them. And like, it was so moving. And that's what really is so important with history. So let's talk a little bit about my favorite topic, which is reading. History is close second. In our increasingly technological driven society, like we have made reading very utilitarian, very what's the basic information I need. And it's not so much anymore for just the beauty of it. And so how have you seen that our culture has shifted, but then why is it so important to be a deep reader?
Well, yeah, certainly we've seen our culture shift. Students are coming out of high school now having read maybe one or two books, if they've read any.
Yeah, I
And
saw you
then
quoted Atlantic article. I reference that all the time.
yeah, it's scary, right?
I actually mentioned it at the summit, and they're like global leaders going, "Wait, I didn't know about that article." I'm like, "Let me show you the research here."
Yeah, it's shocking. And we also have a culture we like quick, short, quotable things. And I'm just as guilty of it. But so it's if I can share it in a social media post, that might be all people read. That might be the only engagement they have with an article, with a topic of society, political topic is the headline and maybe a subtitle. People are moving quickly from text to text, but not really engaging with the text, not sitting with the long form articles even, let alone a book. And I feel like we do lose something. I think technology is great. I'm thankful for it. Obviously, you and I get to talk because of technology, but we lose something to even just our brains, like our attention span when we can't sit with a book and read it. And I notice when like I need to take a break from my phone is usually when I'm trying to read a book and I can tell my brain is like short circuiting. I'm like, oh man, this is bad. I need a break. To sit with literature, honestly, I would say literature of any kind, to sit with it, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and to be able to get through that initial sense that we feel now, which I don't think a lot of people push through of, oh, this is boring, or I don't understand it, or what is this doing for me? That sense of I need to accomplish something and I need to keep moving through my day. Books really force us to slow down and to engage with material that we might not ever interact with ever anywhere else, whether that's a belief, a country, a way of living, a person, a personality. And it invites us into this space to have a conversation with this author, really, who's inviting us into this and engage our mind with it and sit with, I disagree with that. I don't know what I think about that. Or that's interesting. I've never thought of that before. To place our minds in someone else's shoes and experience something that maybe I've never experienced, but to see it in a way that I can understand and have compassion for someone else who maybe has been through something that I have never been through, but I can understand their story more. I mean, there's so many pieces of being a human that come from reading and understanding how to engage with that text. And so it's not even just the reading. I think it's the engaging with it, right? The allowing our brains to ask the questions and sitting in there. I think I wrote a little bit about the book too, how I tried to read like Stephen Hawking has some books. And even there's some I did not finish it. To be the fair, but to challenge our brains, to give it like actual workout for our brain to sit with something and think, this is hard. And if I go back and read stuff from even early church fathers, I'll read a lot of primary sources of things. And I sit with some stuff and I'm like, this was normal writing for them. This is how they communicated. And
if they wrote it with like a quill, you're like, what? What?
And I'm trying to read it and I have to read it like 3 times. Okay, I'm going to read that again and process that again. What are they saying? I want to understand it. And the goal isn't to just have a quote to share. It's because I really want to try to build something internally in my brain and my heart. And it's like a workout, like a mental workout with some of those pieces.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to get my kids to read all the time. It's a fight against technology, to push back against technology and to encourage them to read stuff that they might not gravitate towards initially. I want my kids to read things that they love and that makes good readers. I think if kids find books they love, it helps them become good readers. But I also want them to become good critical thinkers when they read, which means I want them to read some stuff too that they're like, I don't understand that, or I don't get that. And like,
Or I
yeah,
don't
that's
agree with
okay.
that too.
That too.
And that's
Absolutely.
huge because I see that so much in the homeschool community. If you could include this book in your curriculum, and I don't want my kid reading this. I'm like, we have the best discussions from the books
Yes.
that I
Oh,
was like,
yes.
and I didn't have to like, I don't know what the word is, like pre-read, select, take out things in order
Yeah.
to hand it to them. Like I wanted them to chew with the big ideas and chew with the hard questions, and let's start
Yes.
and just give it to them. Let's wrestle
Right.
with these big ideas because, like you're saying, like that's actually building the mental muscle. Otherwise, you're
Absolutely.
just getting fluff and candy in your brain all the time, and that muscle's
Right.
not
Which
going
is
to grow.
like, which is fine. I love some candy every now and then, but
Oh, yeah,
like,
don't get me wrong. You gotta have the pool read. You know what I'm saying?
yes.
If all I have is pool read, I would not be the person that I am.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important for parents to hear for ourselves, but also for our kids, that a book can be sad, or a book can be challenging, or a book can be even boring to a child at first until they get into it. Because I know I've read books that were boring the first couple chapters,
Mhm.
and I got to the end and I
Mhm.
was like blown away. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate some of the harder, challenging things of life through stories?
Oh, especially with my kids when it comes to harder topics. There's some fiction books that we've read during read aloud time that address topics that provide a way for us to talk about difficult things through the lens of a character that they can relate to, which helps so much versus me just being like, this is an issue. We need to talk about it. And they have no context for how does this apply to me? I don't understand this. Reading different historical fiction books where they can understand relational tension or things like that are happening in society, people being marginalized or suffering or different things that we can actually have a conversation about it because they have a story to anchor around to understand the topic a little bit more, how it applies, how it affects someone, how did this affect this character. I remember one book we read, gosh, I can't remember what it is right now, but it was during the civil rights era, and I was like crying while we're reading it. We were like feeling it together, and I thought there's no news article I could share with them that will create this experience, for lack of a better term, of us understanding something and as close as we can understanding it in 2024, whenever it was that we read it. And we're sitting in my living room weeping over this character who is suffering in a way that we might not understand even as white people in 2024, and reading about something that, we were able to talk about it. And I felt like it was so beautiful to have a moment that we could understand because of story that otherwise I don't know it would have clicked the same way. Even maybe intellectually clicked, but not on an emotional heart level of, oh, I feel like I can see a person here now. I can understand this in a way that I couldn't understand before.
Yeah, it was really interesting at this summit. There's many heads of state and different global leaders there. And I asked them, our world seems very dark and we need hope. What hope do you have for the next generation? And what kind of leaders do you think we need to be cultivating to change the course of human history? And all of them, there are 5 gentlemen up on this panel, all said empathy and being able to
Yeah.
understand each other, even though we're different. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's stories. That's the only way I know of.
Totally.
Stories of people that are never going to go to Turkey. Maybe, I don't know, but like, well, the kids aren't either, right? But like, we can read stories and we can
Oh,
understand
yeah.
their struggles and what they've gone through and what they're currently going through. But we do that through stories, and that's what moves and shapes our hearts. So I love that you brought that up. I think in the book too, you taught, it was like a story about Anne Frank.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say that. Oh, that's one example that was just maddening to me. It was,
Sure rose when I read that story. I was like,
I think I'll tell the story. So it was during COVID, and our daughter was home as everyone was, before we started homeschooling her. So she was home from public school, and we were trying to figure out what on earth we were doing. And we had a parent teacher call with this group of parents and talking about their curriculum, and they were reading Anne Frank at the time, of the Diary of Anne Frank. And one of the moms said, it was so shocking. It seared itself in my brain. And then I also don't remember how anyone reacted. She said, Now, why do you have them reading this Anne Frank book? My daughter came downstairs the other day. She was very sad and she was getting very sad about it. And I told her, I'm sure it gets better, honey. I'm sure it has a happy ending. And we all just like the complete dissociation of what is happening right
Yeah.
now. I just
Wow.
shock, truly shock. But to contrast that, my son just read The Diary of Anne Frank this last year. And we had so many conversations where he was like, wait a second, she was my age. A-
Mm.
And he started to click like, this isn't just some removed historical figure that I can't understand, but suddenly it became his world. Like he was looking at us and his family and the things she was doing. He was like, I do that. I feel that way. And I could tell because he was getting attached to the story. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be hard. This is going to be a conversation. And it was, but important, right? Because he had story and he understood, he suddenly connected his heart in a way that he just couldn't have otherwise without story.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is beautiful. And in your book too, I love that these little kind of habits and rhythms really do shape the atmosphere of a home. And so can you talk a little
Yeah.
bit about the importance of home in shaping souls?
Oh gosh. I'm the biggest advocate for home. I'm a homebody. I love being home. So I'm going to
Yeah.
ring the bell of home. But having a home, a place where you can welcome people into, but first be hospitable toward your family is huge. To practice hospitality towards your family through the things we do for them, right? Whatever it is your home life looks like, but also just to provide a landing place. I tell my kids all the time, this home is not just my home. It's not just your dad's home. This is your home. So I want you to feel comfortable here. I want you to feel like you can make mistakes here and we're going to love you. We're going to help you. This is a place to have bad days. This is a place where you can ask hard things. There's a safety that we can create with home that this world doesn't have a lot of places like that where you can feel completely safe. And I want my family to feel that way. I want my kids to feel that way. But then I want their friends to feel that way. Like I do want our home to feel like if you walk through these doors, if we welcome you through these doors, this is your home. Like you can rest here. A home provides like a picture of God's welcome to us, of just hospitality and kindness and grace and beauty and we try to fill our home with art that we love and the books that we love and the photos of the people we love. Like you can see behind me, like
Okay.
plants
Lots of
we love,
plants.
so many plants and piles of school material.
Yes,
Now,
of course.
so my goal with a home, and this is not to knock anyone's personal design style, but my goal of a home is just to feel like we live here. I want you to walk in our home and see the Burkes live here.
It's not an Airbnb, right?
Oh gosh, no. But I know everyone decorates differently. So like I said, it's not like you have to have a specific style, but to walk in and feel like, oh, okay, I can take my shoes off or leave them on, whatever works for you. But you can feel at home here. We're gonna provide a soft place for you to land here.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. You also quoted one of my favorite quotes, and it was so funny because I literally read it in your book. And the day before, I had reposted it on Instagram. You know how like you always
No,
wonder if they're watching you, like in reverse. So I was like, wait, how does she know that? And that's very dangerous. That society where he talks about
Yes.
that scene. Like literally, that's like what has shaped my whole worldview of education and why I write homeschool curriculum and the philosophy I have, because it was that scene where he's talking about why poetry matters. And it's not
Yes.
just the words and it's not just checking off the box, but actually the beauty of poetry creates a life and
Yes.
it changes us as humans. And so I think a lot of the practices you talk about in your book, being out in nature and being with animals and all those kind of things like that, in music and stories, like all of that beauty and the power of that to shape
Yeah.
people as well. So I'm curious, like, were you always like this? Because like I was like always the kid that like wanted to play by myself in the backyard, like looking at weeds and thinking they were flowers, things and stuff, and singing, making up songs. And I used to write
gosh.
poetry as a child, and everyone thought it was just weird, or as something that you've grown into as an adult.
I know I was definitely the weird kid. I wrote poetry as soon as I learned how to write. I was writing poems. I have some really bad poems in a binder somewhere in my house. But I remember growing up, I would make up my own languages and speak them to everyone in my family, and they would just be like, "Oh, okay, Andrea, yeah, that's very cute." And that we lived up on this mountain in this old, it was an old town. So we had these stone walls that were built, I guess, during the Revolutionary War. It was in New York. And there was one stone wall that had fallen down up this whole hillside, and I called it the Queen's Staircase. I remember this. And I would spend hours there by myself, reading, living in a world of just like Anne of Green Gables-ish imagination, and finding my way to waterfalls up behind our house up in the mountains a little bit. And I was very outdoors kid, but I also loved being in my room with books. And as I grew older, that moved into I loved old jazz and Billie Holiday. I would sit in my room and listen to Billie Holiday for hours in my room and twinkle lights. And so I feel like I can look back on my life and see, oh yeah, this is always beauty, and this sense of depth has always been a desire for me. I wanted to live in a very deep, rich world my whole life, and sometimes looked odd, and that was okay with me. I just was like, this is who I am. And then bringing that into my home now as an adult obviously looks a little different than wandering a fell down stone wall somewhere, but
Right.
it's all still there.
I think there's a part of us as moms, especially homeschool moms, and we get so busy with all of the demands and needs of our children and the demands of school and running a house that we put ourselves in the back burner again. And that beauty and that sense of wonder and that joy for our imagination and stories and all of those beautiful things kind of gets locked up in a way. And did you struggle with that as a mom, or were you keeping these habits and these practices from your childhood on?
I've definitely struggled. I've had to try to remind myself in different seasons. I've kept a list of things that I know bring me back to life in that way. Simple things, lighting a candle, opening the windows in springtime so I can hear the rain, the wind, see the birds, whatever it is. Really simple things, but I knew those were like little lifelines back to who I've always been. Reading poetry. I keep a stack of poetry books really close by so I can grab it, read a poem, and it does something for me. So yeah, I've had to fight for it and remind myself of who I am again and again. And there's that quote, again, here I go quoting things making their way around the internet, but it's, do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? And I do think that there's so much of our childhood that is good. Hopefully for a lot of people, they have some pieces that they can look back and say, regardless of this and that and the other thing, I can see who I am and we can pull those things out as an adult now and see what was good, what's worth keeping, and who do I still want to be. Motherhood has the potential to numb you from being a person.
Yep.
And I think it's really important for our kids that we don't let that happen. And I'm the biggest advocate for pouring your heart and life out for your kids. I think that's important. Your kids need you to show up for them,
Oh,
but they also need you to show up as a
yeah.
healthy mom,
That was a
as a
show
person,
human.
so human. And so there's plenty of things I still do, that like drawing and painting and songwriting, that my kids know mom's doing that because that's mom, and mom has to do that for herself. And I'll tell them like, oh yeah, guys, I have to do this. I put myself in timeout because I'll be like, mom needs time. I'm going to go in my room and I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes sometimes. But especially when they were little, I put myself in timeout a lot. But I needed to maintain that for them so that I could lead them in the way of beauty and show them how to be a person that my daughter's almost 18. And I want her to see that I didn't just disappear for her last 18 years, that
Absolutely.
I kept living. And for her, I kept living to show her things and invite her into that with me and see her things that she loves and engage with that. And the world can only become bigger and more beautiful when you have kids if you let it, instead of just erasing yourself. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think, yeah, if we want to guide them into this quiet resistance, like we have to be the one modeling
yeah.
that, and we have to be the one that is continually filling our own hearts and minds
Yes.
with beauty. And you talk in the book about going outside at night and looking at the stars as a form of
Yes.
worship. So I think wonder and awe are so key. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on wonder and awe in the Christian life.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I think as far as I think that there are so many opportunities to experience wonder and awe in creation, to worship God. He reveals himself to us through creation. This is what scripture tells us. That's one of the ways he reveals himself. that to be pursuers of that is a good thing and to pay attention and notice those things. And I become a little obsessive about marveling at things because I really, again, want my kids to see it. So when we've had super moons, I've packed my kids up at 10 o'clock at night and I'm like, get in the car.
Yeah.
We're going to go chase the moon until we see it rising. And I want you to feel that feeling. And I'm going to put on a song that also gives you that feeling. Like I'm going to create this moment because I need to stir something up in you that goes, whoa. And stop looking at your screens. You need to feel something. And so we've done that because that's that feeling of, whoa, like I'm small. This is beautiful. This is bigger than me. I think that happens or can happen in worship at church if we let ourselves behold God and the cross and the gospel, like those beautiful things, beholding Christ. If we can truly behold him, hopefully we start to feel small and have that sense of, whoa, like I'm humbled by this. I'm aware of how small I am and yet how huge this is for me. And I just think that between beholding Christ and beholding the revealed nature of God through creation, we have plenty of opportunities to sit back and marvel.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to pay attention. We have to turn off that sense of what am I getting out of this? I don't have a lot of time. How long is this going to take? I've got to go do this next thing. Like we have to be able to sit in the discomfort of waiting for that sense of I need to feel small. Does you know what I mean? Like
For sure.
pursuing that, finding it.
I actually had a mom the other day. She was sharing that her and her kids, they were leaving the library and she was thinking about like all the different errands they had to run. And her son's, Mom, come here, you have to see this. She was like, and she goes over and it was like this ant pile. Kids just sat there for what felt like forever in silence, just watching the ants. And yes, we need to see these things that are so big and so marvelous, but we also need to notice the really tiny, small things.
Yes.
Because God's in those details too. And just have all for these ants are amazing. They can live like how many times their butt and they're doing.
It's so true. Yeah. Gardening has taught us that when we are like paying attention and looking at the butterflies or looking for praying mantis egg sacs so we can see baby praying mantises when they come out. Or last year we had a little nest of, I can't remember what kind of bird they were, but they were nesting in our oregano. And we would go out every day and kind of peek back and be like, oh, the eggs haven't hatched yet. But to be able to pay attention and see those things and marvel at the wonder, the creativity, the beauty, the color, the texture, I try to help my kids at least, but I do identify all those things. Look at the spots. Look at the perfect shape of that nest. Look at how perfectly they're covered and the smell of the oregano as you pull it back. Like those moments take us right into that moment together. Like we can be present, grounded, looking at something, marveling and seeing the beauty of it. And again, feeling small. Like I couldn't have created that. I didn't make this happen. I didn't build that anthill. I didn't make the moon rise. I didn't give these birds a nest. Like God has written all of this so that we can step back and look and be amazed at what he's done and who he is.
Yeah, it's really an amazing opportunity that we actually have as moms, especially as homeschool moms, for all of these moments. And it's not just like, how do I get through the day and make sure I covered my whole curriculum this year?
Right.
Because it's even humanly possible. I'm not sure. And I write the curriculum. I tell people, my customers all the time, I'm like, I write it. I've never completed all of it. Don't feel any pressure.
I was supposed to say, please say no, because it's almost May. And
we get to experience it again through the eyes of a child. And you talk in the book about part of the quiet resistance is spending time with children. Some of us are probably like, too much time with my kid. I need to be quiet by myself.
That's right.
There is a balance. Let's just be honest. But we get to have such an amazing experience that other people don't, to savor and fill our lives and our homes with all this beautiful, rich goodness all the time. And it really is an amazing privilege. So to wrap up, if there's parents who are like, yeah, this sounds really nice and beautiful and like all Charlotte Mason-y, but I don't live in Victorian times and I actually have to get this done. It all comes down to time. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, right?
Yeah.
Where do I find time for all of this? That's
Yeah. I think it starts with realizing you're not biting off more than you can chew. It's what is that old saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I start where you can. If you really are interested in living a little differently, then start with one thing. Introduce one thing into your daily rhythms that you could do. Light a candle at dinner. Stop at night to go out and look at the stars when you can this summer for 5 minutes with your kids, maybe once a week. Maybe you pick one night we're going to look at the stars tonight. spend time with history for 10 minutes a week, read a book or watch a YouTube video about something that engages your brain, or learn about your family history. There are ways we can do these things in really small ways without feeling like you have to do all of it all at once right now. And that's part of our culture's problem is we think, I want to do all of it right now, like immediately. We have to learn these things, right? And part of that quiet resistance is saying, I have a lifetime to learn this. I'm a lifetime to walk this path. I want to be faithful with it. I want it to last. I want it to stick. So I've got to start with small things. And hopefully in each chapter, you can see there are small ways that you can do that. Maybe you can't take care of chickens, but you can pay attention to caring for the butterflies out your window, or go to the zoo and appreciate what conservation is happening through the zoo, or go fishing and say a prayer for those who restock the streams and the ponds. Like even that alone helps quiet down our sense of this is all about me. I've got to make this about me. You can do small things that really have big changes as they add up over time.
Yeah, like those tiny little grains of sand.
Yeah.
Creates the difference. It's not like a complete overhaul. If you're looking at all the, and I love how each chapter is like its own little mini,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
very small and they're very intentional. So again, it doesn't feel like it's completely overwhelming. If you were looking at those, do you recommend that people read the whole thing and then go, okay, like this one seems the most doable? Or is it like, I'm reading through them and this is tugging at my heart and I need to do this?
Yeah, I would say follow your heart. I would say if you're reading one and you're like, I agree with all this, Andrea, but this one is the one that I feel like I need to jump in on, then jump in there. I don't think you need to, I don't
There's
even
no order.
No, you don't
Yeah.
need to start at the beginning of the book. You can look at the table of contents and be like, that chapter is calling to me right now. I'm going to sit with that and maybe go through it and then come up with some creative ways that you might start implementing that in your world. I live in New York in a different climate than some people reading this book. And so I don't expect people to read this and be like, copy paste. This is
Right.
exactly how it's going to work for me. Find a way to create your own quiet resistance right where you live, with the people you live with, the home you have, the world around you. But start what brings you passion. What stirs your heart up to joy that you could say, I can do that.
Yeah. What are you hoping, and then we'll wrap up here. What are you hoping after someone reads this that they'll take away the most?
That's a good question. I think I would hope that someone who reads this walks away feeling like they're not crazy for wanting to live like this, that they are in good company with people around the country, around the world, who are trying to live a little differently, and that they're not crazy for saying, I do want to stop living this way. I do want to stop filling my world with just repeat stuff that I don't actually want. Like that they feel supported in stopping the rat race, stopping the mental rat race, the noise, the chaos, the panic, and realize that they have permission and an invitation to quiet down. And that's okay. That's not giving up. That's not failure. That's not weird. It might be weird for some people, but there are lots of us who are like, we don't want to do this
Yeah,
way
right.
anymore. And so that they are joining in a friendship of people who feel like we want to have a quiet resistance, and we'll recognize each other when we see each other. Like we know, oh, I see you. I see what you're doing. And it's a beautiful thing. So they're joining a community in a way. They're not alone. So that would be my hope. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. And I'm sure that is a big struggle for people because not everyone has that community in your life, because you might be a part of a community that is very pressure filled and you feel like you have to keep
Yeah.
up with the Joneses and your life has to be so busy and you have to be involved in all these things because Susie down the street is involved in
Yeah.
all these things. And look at her child. In the
Oh,
homeschool world, that
gosh.
comparison is fierce, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's a whole other topic, right?
Yeah, right. When you're quietly resisting, that makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they're going to let you know that they don't like it. They
Uh-huh.
think you're weird or crazy. And were you just blessed that you also had this people, or did you make your tribe?
You know, my tribe has changed over the years through different seasons, and I've learned to keep an open hand with relationships. People come and go, they move, they go through different things, and I've learned to have grace for everyone in their different seasons. We've had seasons of really amazing homeschool communities. We've had seasons where I feel like I'm the only one and I just don't fit in. Haven't found my people. And same with like church communities or just long-term friendships. Friendships change, people change. And so I think that I have a couple people that are my like anchor people that I've had for a long time. And I've learned to keep an open hand with everyone else. And that to be myself consistently everywhere I go is the best thing I can possibly do, because the right people, I find the right people and I connect with those people. And I've been through seasons of trying to become a certain type of homeschool mom to fit
Oh,
in
yeah. Me too,
with,
girl, yeah.
it's like, can't do it. Can't do it. I can't keep up. And as it turns out, there's a lot of other homeschool moms like me who feel like I do. And that's okay too. Like there's different types of mothering. There's different kinds of friends. I think that social media especially gives this impression that people who are happiest have this huge tribe and they support them no matter what. They're always there for them and they never have fights and they're always there and they understand each other perfectly. I don't think that's actually as common as social media would have you believe, especially like in women's ministry at my church. Most everybody thinks everyone else has friends.
Yep.
And they think
Right.
they're the ones who
Mhm.
are the weirdos and why don't I have friends? It's like nobody actually feels like they have friends.
We
So
just have to be vulnerable enough to admit that to each other.
yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed our conversation. How can people get your book?
Yeah, you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think it's christianbook.com. Anywhere you can get books, you can find The Quiet Resistance, an invitation to slow down and find a richer life. And it might even be in some bookstores in the South, I think, but I'm not sure. I know that it doesn't hit bookstores up here much. It's not quite the same demographic for shopping in the Northeast as in the
Right.
South, but you can check out your local bookstore too, or ask them to stock it, which would be really great if you get it in
Yeah.
the store.
That is awesome. And how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on almost every social media. Andrea G. Burke. Don't forget the G. It's for Genevieve. My grandmother was named after her. So AndreaGBurke.com, Andrea G. Burke on Substack, Andrea G. Burke on Instagram. If you search the name of my book and my name, you should be able to find all of my socials. You'll
Yeah, and we'll put
obnoxiously
all
find
that
me
on
everywhere.
our call, but can we pause this for 1 second
Yeah.
and talk about the amazingness of Substack?
Oh my
Since you
gosh.
just mentioned
I
it.
love
I am
Substack.
in love with Substack. Yes. Like for a long time, people kept talking about it. I'm like, I don't need one more thing. I already have something
know.
going. Like I never got on TikTok because I was like, I
Yeah.
just can't handle one more thing. This makes no sense to me. I don't even understand TikTok. And finally, someone broke the wall down 2 months ago, and I got on Substack, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
can breathe again. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is like OG Instagram back in the day. Right?
Does.
Write like a blog post and put like a picture of my kitchen or whatever. Like I didn't have to like spend hours making reels and like thinking what's going to be cute for people. It's just real honest people, and there's not the drama. Have you found that?
Right. Yeah, it's not no drama,
No.
no people engage sincerely and with kindness and real thoughts and engagements with your like it's so nice.
It's so nice. Sorry. It depends on who you subscribe to. I just keep and
Yeah.
this is simple. And the people always ask, I'm like, oh my gosh, this lady lives in France and she's talking about like her main character May. And I'm like, yes, I want a main character May, like someone who lives in France. Like,
love that. Yeah.
man, like I'm looking at it going, I don't want to follow this person. Like everyone is so beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. It's such a refreshing place. Every time I go there too to just see what people are posting, I'm inspired. I'm moved. I cry. I'm like, this is such a beautiful space with just good people who are trying to put beauty into the world. I think that's part of it. There's a lot of artists and writers and creators there who are just like, obstinately, I'm going to make beautiful things and you don't have to like them, but I'm going to make them. And we're all there. Yes, please keep creating beauty. It's so important.
Oh, yeah. I actually posted anything. So don't, if you're listening, don't go try to find me. I'm out, but I just want to be in it right now and just be fed by other people and not write anything. But I know I will because it's such a comforting, like, I feel like it's the tribe that I've been like, where are these people?
They're all in we're all in Substack hanging out over there making stuff.
So everyone go follow Andrea on Substack. If you haven't gone on it, you're going to thank us for it later. All right.
Aw,
Thanks again for coming on.
my pleasure. Thanks for chatting.
All right. Let me stop this. How do I stop this? I've made the mistake before of like just stopping it and then ending the call.
Oh. If that happens, that's okay.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways. Number 1, small rhythms shape the soul. Andrea reminds us that change does not usually happen through dramatic overhauls, but through small daily practices repeated over time. Lighting a candle at dinner, going outside at night to look at the stars, reading good books, gardening, or sharing meals together can slowly transform the atmosphere of a home. Number 2, stories help us become more human. One of the most powerful parts of the conversation centered around the role of literature and story in forming empathy, compassion, and understanding. Books allow children to emotionally connect with people, cultures, and experiences far beyond their ordinary lives. Number 3, wonder is essential for both children and adults. From watching ants on the sidewalk to chasing the moon late at night, wonder helps us pull out of hurry and back into the presence of God. Andrea shared how paying attention to beauty in creation cultivates humility, worship, and joy. Number 4, home should feel lived in, not performed. Andrea beautifully describes home as a place of welcome, rest, safety, and belonging. Rather than striving for perfection, she encourages family to create homes filled with hospitality, beauty, story, and music. And last but not least, slowing down is not failure. In a culture obsessed with productivity and constant motion, slowing down can feel uncomfortable or even irresponsible. But Andrea encourages listeners to see quiet living not as laziness, but as intentionality and faithfulness. If you enjoyed today's conversation, you may want to check out Andrea's new book, The Quiet Resistance, An Invitation to Slow Down and Find a Richer Life. You can find that wherever books are sold. You can also find out more information in today's show notes at thehomeschoolfeast.com. If you are looking for a way to bring in the slower pace of life into what you're doing in your homeschool, you really want to check out the Feast Table membership. Doors are now open. Go to thehomeschoolfeast.com/table to find out more.